flow down to the negative, Madam Speaker. Further on, Madam Speaker, we have legal reforms and enforcement of existing laws. Madam Speaker, if existing laws are not enforced, how are we supposed to follow them? If a punishment is not meted out to the person who has carried out the offense, how are we, the others, supposed to follow? We'll follow the example of those who are making the offense, causing gender-based violence, because they are not getting punished, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we need to end gender-based violence. Not now, Madam Speaker. Not yesterday, Madam Speaker, but now. This day, this minute, Madam Speaker, gender-based violence needs to
Order.
end.
Your time is up. The honorable member seated over there.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this rare opportunity to debate. My name is Ms. Kanseluke, and I'm from Munali constituency representing Munali Girls Secondary School. Now, Madam Speaker, cultural aspects are the major cause of gender-based violence, but we should understand that it doesn't only affect women, but men as well. Now, we are made to think that women should be subordinate to men. This in turn makes the society to be patriarchal and sexist, making them legitimize violence to ensure dominance of men. This causes domestic violence amongst women in homes. According to the Police Service annual GBV data analysis of 2021, a total of 20,540 cases were reported countrywide, showing a decrease by 5,830 cases. This is all thanks to the government and the Zambia police for doing a tremendous job. Now,
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Is the honorable member on the floor in order to read the speech, or the mover of the motion is the only person who is allowed to read the speech in the August House?
The honorable member is not reading. She's referring to some copious notes. She may continue with her debate.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, to show that I'm not a speaker who speaks from without but from within, here I have some evidence that I will lay on the table.
Before
If
you continue,
I may continue,
honorable member, you are supposed to complete your debate before laying out the evidence. You may continue.
my apologies. Madam Speaker, now, as these cultural aspects affected GBV towards women, it brought about GBV towards men, as I mentioned before. Now, the government did a great job in promoting, in safeguarding women towards GBV. But it, however, put men at an uncanny disadvantage. Now, let's say a woman, now, let's say a woman gets a higher paid job, which is okay, and a man gets a lesser paid job, which is okay. Madam Speaker, what happens? Madam Speaker, what? Madam Speaker, what happens? Madam Speaker, what happens when the woman begins to feel somehow superior to the man? I mean, that's okay, one way or another. But Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, when the woman begins to inflict the man either psychologically, socially, or physically, we will all say gender-based violence. But other people would think, no, towards a man, that could be impossible. The man won't go out of his dignity to report to the police officials saying that um, he has been assaulted by the woman. And even though he does report, what will the people say? He's a man. That's how the cultural aspects say that no, he's supposed to be dominant. He is supposed to be the man of the house, the head of the house. Why would he be reporting, Madam Speaker? And so the man would die inside. Ever wonder why the cases of gender-based violence towards a man is very low or is very reduced, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, we should not be one-sided towards this. Yes, women get inflicted, but what if a man gets inflicted? What happens then, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, I am saying this because many men die from the inside. What happens to them, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker,
Order.
if we...
Your time is up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this great opportunity, debate under the motion which has already been moved by the mover of the motion. My name is West Wheeler, representing the people of Trauma
Hold on,
constituency.
current member speaking. Honorable members, let us not debate through our point of orders. You may continue.
This issue of gender-based violence has psychologically affect children, where children are pertaining to, dealing with, or affecting their mind, especially their function of their awareness. Madam Speaker, the same gender-based violence has also led children to be street kids. Also, it is also leading children to start abusing drugs. Madam Speaker, our children depend in the streets, they work in the streets, Madam Speaker, which is very bad. Madam Speaker, and the way I think we can tackle the same issue of gender-based violence is by building more recreational facilities such as football grounds, netball grounds. As a result, this can also help to prevent children from going out there, abusing drugs, and doing other things. Madam Speaker, and also by educating the community, meaning we should disseminate the information to the society about the dangers of gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, if we change the way we speak, we also change the way we think. Madam Speaker, and also providing platform where people are able to voice the effects which are affecting their societies. And also, Madam Speaker, the increase of CDF. For this can also help to remote the areas which are overlooked during allocating the national budget. Madam Speaker, and also building more police posts, meaning the people will be able to report some cases. For instance, where people on the internet posting their nakedness, who want to see their nakedness. And also, Madam Speaker, you can tell me that the ZICT is not on Facebook. They usually see these things happening. We are tired of seeing these things happening, Madam Speaker.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
A point of order is raised.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. How does nudity have to do with gender-based violence?
May the current speaker continue with his debate. Allow him to come to his point.
Madam Speaker, and also as my fellow honorable has already stated that we should even we should also provide jobs for the youths. Meaning, if quite right, we know that the government has employed people, but there are some of the people who have not yet been employed. Madam Speaker, if the government could employ some of the youths who are there in the streets, those youths could be able to facilitate their personal, social, and they'll be able to support their children. With these few points, I rest my case, Madam Speaker.
Over there.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My name is Seth Landu, and I stand here today representing the National Technical Secondary School Hillcrest, as well as the wonderful people of Livingston, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence is not a new concept, neither is it a new phrase or one the walls of this chamber have not heard before. Madam Speaker, encompassed in the third part of our Constitution is our country's stance on human rights and our stance against discrimination in all forms, really, encompassing gender-based violence as well. Therefore, we have been battling gender-based violence as a country, as a continent, and as a country for years and decades at large. Madam Speaker, allow me to lead into my point in stating that new policies and reforms aren't cardinal in our fight against gender-based violence. Why so? Because bodies and departments are already in place. The Victim Support Unit under the Zambia Police is already an example. Policy and legislative authority as well are already in place. Veteran organizations are present that have been fighting gender-based violence for decades. What I'm trying to get to by stating this is that we as a country must not look to a future in which we need to start afresh and begin to rethink the way we are fighting gender-based violence. But instead, we must go back, Madam Speaker. We must bring back to life the infrastructure already in place. We have the tools to fight gender-based violence, but unfortunately in the past, we have been unable to use them. As the previous speaker, my honorable member, my fellow honorable member mentioned, some of these institutions are decorations. We have taken domestic violence too casually as a country. Being renowned as one of the most peaceful nations in our continent, it is rather sad and embarrassing to have a record of domestic violence and gender-based violence, especially in a Christian nation, Madam Speaker. To give solutions to how we can end gender-based violence, because we have been fighting it for so long, we must, once more I reiterate, bring back redress and report mechanisms under the Victim Support Unit. We must stiffen penalties for those found wanting in domestic violence cases. We must, within our sensitization, widen it to a wider scale to reach the minority groups that are affected. We must not look to the future without thinking on what we have left in the past. We have the tools, I mentioned again, Madam Speaker. Bring back the Victim Support Unit, influence the youths to be nurtured on why not to go against gender-based violence, I beg your pardon. And we must find solutions in what we already have. The places, the policies, the authority are already in place. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Emmanuel Ngandwe. I'm representing Kanyama constituency. I won't brag about the effects and the and the causes of gender-based violence, but I'll go straight to the solutions, which I see will work. I see that strengthening the laws and and discipline that among personnel, army personnel in GBV was. If we look at wars in GBV in the sector of wars, war is also a sector which promotes gender-based violence. Army personnel who are not disciplined also commit this same gender-based violence in different sectors while they are fighting in wars. Social civic
Point of order.
A point of order has been raised.
Thank you again, Madam Speaker. Is the honorable member in order to bring about an issue of war when we are all on record in understanding that Zambia is a very peaceful nation that has not recorded a single internal conflict since its independence in 1964? Therefore, I ask your serious ruling on whether he is in order to claim that the country of Zambia within its borders has experienced a war that we are not aware of. Will the Minister of Defense please rise if he is present in this attendance? Therefore, I seek your serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
The honorable member is out of order, and may he take into consideration. He may continue with his debate.
Madam, in a blink of time, you don't know what can happen tomorrow. And we have seen in different yes.
Do not clarify the speaker's ruling.
Thank you. Okay. Equality and zero violence should be taught to children at a younger age. If we want to see gender-based violence out in our country after 5 years, we need to teach our younger children when they are still young. We need to teach them we need to teach our children about equality when they're still young. While they are still young, we need to teach them equality, or if they grow up, they'll still be with it because it's the model they have taken when they were young. The community aid should be provided. Before we urge the government to provide anything, the community should aid first. Because as a community, we're the first people who see these cases happening. So if we provide aid and help different people, it will be helpful. All sectors should be involved. We see musicians in different sectors in the entertainment industry being involved in different things. I urge that the entertainment industry should be also involved in this sector because gender-based violence is really affecting our society. If the entertainment industry produces music, books, and movies addressing this matter, I tell you that tomorrow we may not see these things happening in our community.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Proceed.
Thank you. It seems there are so many flies in here. Sorry.
Point of order. Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
You may continue with your debate.
Thank you. Civil societies organizations for the man should be found. I've seen many people talking about women being vulnerable, but I tell you that us men also and boys, they are vulnerable in this GBV case. Men are vulnerable and we need civil societies and many organizations. The same, there are so many civil societies for the women. We need to see them. We need to see civil societies and organizations for the women being popping, for the men popping up so that we can also be aided with help. Thank you. With those few points, I may say thank you. I hope I've represented Chinika Secondary School well.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Mutale Natasha Mutale, representing Munali constituency and Munali Girls Secondary School, where
Your
only
name?
the best. Mutale Natasha Mutale of Munali constituency. Before I go on any further, let me just define gender-based violence. Though it has already been defined, gender-based violence is violence against the opposite gender in both men and women. But in most cases, the women are the most affected. And because they're the most affected, it has greatly affected their physical, mental, and social status. Being free from violence, as stated by the fellow speaker, is a fundamental human right. And gender-based violence undermines women's sense of self-worth and self-esteem, leading to isolation, depression, and suicidal attempts. Why should a woman be forced to isolate herself, thinking that she cannot live anymore, when there's a lot she can do with her life? Give the woman a chance, she can be a doctor, a teacher, and even a president. It certainly isn't girl's dream. It certainly isn't any girl's dream, neither is it mine, to get married to a man who will think of me as useless and that I cannot do anything with my life. When yes, I certainly can. Gender-based violence is an issue that has been in Zambia for a long period of time. And there are many ways in which we can use to stop this gender-based violence from scaling up again. And one of them is by stopping victim blaming. We should not blame girls and women for the way they choose to dress or their behavior. Limiting the freedoms of girls will not end violence, but only allow the perpetrators to remain unpunished and those who witness the violence to remain
Point
silent.
of order, Madam Speaker.
A point of order has been raised.
Madam Speaker, is the honorable member in order to be saying girls are allowed to wear what they want and it will not limit their freedom, Madam Speaker, because, Madam Speaker, this is a Christian nation, Madam Speaker, so may the honorable kindly clarify what she means by wear whatever they want.
Honorable member, you are not allowed to debate through your point of orders. She may continue with her debate.
As I was saying, we must not victim blame. We should not blame girls and women for the way they choose to dress by limiting their freedoms. Instead, we must try our best to end this gender-based violence. Another way is by not making excuses for friends and peers who are violent. We should not support the notion that violence is caused because of lack of anger management skills, stress, or alcohol abuse. Violence is a choice. Choose not to be violent. We must interrupt sexist and discriminatory language. Words are powerful, especially when used by people who have power over others. We live in a society where words are used to put girls and women down. Gendered name calling sends the message that girls and women are less than fully human. When they are seen as inferior, it is easier to treat them with violence and disrespect. We must be believable and supportive.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
We must be believable and supportive. When a woman says her husband beats her up, we should not blame it on love. No matter what this woman has done, a man has no right to lay even a single finger as punishment on his wife. We must stop stereotyping men and women's roles. Social roles and expectations may affect our decisions about relationships. One of the social roles that truly affect relationships is the fact that men are taught that expressing feelings is not masculine. We must examine our social roles and find new ways of expressing feelings directly and non-violently to create meaningful relationships based on love and care. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
As we proceed with the debate, honorable members, you are not allowed to debate through your point of orders. Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you for recognizing me, Madam Speaker. My name is Chimpwembeka Chemba and I'm representing Kawata constituency. Would you like to see a loved one suffer for no reason at all? To prevent this, we must bring an end to gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is mainly caused by gender imbalancing. This is when a person has more power over another person. Gender imbalancing usually starts when we are young in our homes, where the boys are given more opportunities to play and the girls are taught to do household chores and work. We need more institutions such as ZCCP Kwatu, which is being founded by the US, and YWCP, which is opening certain programs which is known as coaching men into boys. This program is training boys from the age of 9 9 to 14 on how to respect women and girls. We need more organizations to intervene on how to stop gender-based violence. Parents should stop using abusive language in front of their children. They should stop fighting. They should let love, peace, and care reign in their homes. Madam Speaker, we need people to learn to interfere into sexist and abusive languages. People now use words as a way of downgrading women and girls. We need more people to change the way we speak and not to change the way we think. People should be critical and questionable to the way the media portrays women and girls. The media now uses violent images of women and girls in order to sell their products. As an individual, you can stop this by reporting that company and not buying the company's product. The youth can no longer rely on mainstream media as a source of sending the message out. They can use social media platforms such as Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Twitter as a way of getting the message out on how to end gender-based violence. Do not discriminate. Do not blame women and girls for what they choose to wear or judge them because of their behavior, because this won't bring an end to gender-based violence. Don't engage yourself into sexist or abusive behavior because don't engage yourself into sexual harassment such as catcalling or unwanted touching. If you see your fellow peers doing such behavior, advise them, tell them the effects, and tell them how to stop gender-based violence. People should learn to believe and be supportive. When a girl comes to you and tells you about the violence such as experience in her life, you should believe her and be supportive because it is very rare for women to lie about sexual harassment. People should stop calling gender-based violence bullying.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
People should stop calling gender-based violence bullying. We are now growing up in a society where if a girl faces violence at school, people are using the term bullying as a cover. People should stop calling gender-based violence bullying. It is violence, it is not bullying. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Mic over here.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity that has been rendered to me. My name is Blessings Mnyenyembe, representing Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, we can only end GBV or we can eradicate it by promoting community dialogues. In my constituency, specifically Chawama Day Secondary School, we always held dialogues where we teach each other about the badness, the causes, and how GBV can affect us. So I feel if we can break the boundaries to go and teach in the community, people can go and
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Proceed.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my other point is being an active intervener. Many times people say when they found violence is taking place, they'll say it's none of my business. But can you stand and watch violence taking place or in the name of minding your own business? The answer is very simple. It's no. So I think people should remove that negative thinking of thinking, no, it's my own business or it's their own business. Madam Speaker, I feel we can sue the government through the Attorney General, who is the government representative, because most of the times when men go to report the cases of GBV to the police, the first thing that you hear is a laugh, a loud laugh for that matter. They will laugh in a certain way that that person was going to report will be discouraged. So I feel if people can come to a system of suing the government through the Attorney General, I feel the reduction of GBV cases. Madam Speaker, I feel the government should support and work hand in hand with NGOs, which are non-governmental organizations, because I feel they are the ones who are fighting most of these cases. Madam Speaker, we should work we should stop rape culture. Many times when a man rapes a girl, then you say, no, it was the power of the devil. I was not the one who was working on it. Who said so, Madam Speaker? You are the one who raped the girl, and you will say, no, it was the power of the devil that overtook me. I wasn't the one who raped the girl. I feel, Mr. Speaker, I feel, Madam Speaker, if we can stop rape culture in Zambia, there will be reduction over GBV cases. Madam Speaker, providing preventive information to potential perpetrators will also help in the reduction of GBV cases in Zambia. I also feel the police should take GBV cases seriously, regardless to the gender at hand. With these few points, Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. My name is Ananguni from True Constituency. I'm representing Kamba Secondary School. Madam Speaker, our only stipulates facts that can be considered if you want to see gender-based violence abolished. Firstly, Madam Speaker, is through government and non-governmental organizations. Pardon me, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, government should come in collaboration with non-governmental organizations such as Gender-Based Violence, Young Women Christian Association, Young Men Christian Association, to eradicate any forms of discrimination against women, against men, and against young ones. Madam Speaker, and government should remove barriers that prevent women from being fully equal with men. And Madam Speaker, let there be strict law and punishment to perpetrators so that it can be an example to others as well. Madam Speaker, media should play a vital role in ending gender-based violence. In a manner whereby, Madam Speaker, media creates a platform for women to be heard and to get the advocates with their need for their well-being to be safeguarded. Madam Speaker, let us unite to end gender-based violence. Let us say no to gender-based violence. Let us stop violence against women. Let us stop violence against men. Let us stop violence against young ones. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence is a serious matter. And Madam Speaker, I need your serious hearing on this. Madam Speaker, because gender-based violence is harmful to our lives. Madam Speaker, it's with this great privilege that I rest my case.
Honorable member seated at the far end there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. Oh, pardon me. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to add my voice to the motion which states raising awareness on how to end GBV. My name is Chikondi Banda, and I'm representing Chawama Day Secondary School from Chawama constituency. I will not go further like to talking much about what GBV is, but I'll go on just to the solution, how we can eradicate it. First, my first point, Madam Speaker, is that let's tell people, those who intend to get married, to be financially stable. For instance, Madam Speaker, those people who are like not financially stable, it may lead to the GBV cases in our country, whereby, for instance, Madam Speaker, a man is married and then he has a business, then his business not going well for him. And the wife may intend to start using abusive language to the man. And we need like to encourage those people who intend to get marriage to be financially stable. My second
point of order, Madam Speaker.
Proceed. My second point, Madam Speaker, is that reporting cases of GBV. If we encourage one another that we should report these cases, we may also encourage those that are shy, those who are not able like to report. When they see others they report, they also get encouraged that let's report cases of GBV. And my third point, Mr. Speaker, is that let's use social media platforms for something that is important. Because most of the time we use social media platforms for things that do not add value to our country, that may not even help us to end this GBV. So let's use social media platforms.
The point of order has been raised.
Madam Speaker, is the
order
honorable in order to be calling you Mr. Speaker, Madam? Thank you.
The honorable member is in order.
Madam Speaker, it was just a slip of a tongue. Sorry. My apology. So, Mr. Speaker, my other point is that let's interrupt abuse, Madam Speaker. Most of the time we see people being abused sexually, verbally, and you just stand there and you see and you just say that it's their business, let them work it out. But here, as the government, we need to work out together that when you see any form of abuse, let's stand together and work out so that the voice may be heard out there, that let's be interveners of any form of abuse. And my other point, Madam Speaker, is that let's make clubs in our schools. Those clubs will help us to disseminate information to the public, like dialogues, like my fellow honorables have already said, dialogues that will help us to disseminate information. And sensitization also can help us also to eradicate this gender-based violence thing. And another thing, stop victim blaming. Many other times we like blaming the victims that they're the ones who cause GBV, but no.
Madam Speaker.
Let's help not to victim blaming. Let's just encourage one another that this GBV thing can end. With these few points, I raise my case.
Point of order.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me just directly go to my point, to my solutions, which I think will help very much. My name is Miriam Banda, representing Munali constituency. Madam Speaker, my first point, educate yourselves on the root cause of violence. Violence against girls and women is mostly perpetrated by the male folks who dominate more in this act. Away from that, in the socialization of males, you will find that the discussions that comes out from them due to their cultural beliefs and practices that they are the heads of the house does not protect the female folks.
Honorable member, can you move away from your mic?
Rather makes girls and women vulnerable in the society. For this reason, we, the honorable members of this Parliament House, together with the members of our community, let us educate ourselves on the root causes of violence. Let us find time to read books and articles about GBV preventions. Let us encourage all pupils in schools to join groups in various schools and attend any training available on GBV preventions. Let us all learn the myths, beliefs, and realities of gender-based violence and understand how our society treats such violence. My next point, be a mentor. Take some time off your busy schedule to speak to others about GBV preventions. In doing so, you will raise awareness to others to take proper action against GBV preventions. I believe that I and my fellow honorable members are here to work with a society that cares, a people who cherish
Honorable member,
equality.
too close to your mic.
Sorry, a people who cherish equality, men who do not raise their hands against a woman. We are here to work with you as human rights defenders, people who smile and laugh equally, people whose attire is confident. We are here to work with you as law enforcers because we believe that if tomorrow we can have a gender-free nation, our mother Zambia will be as good as it is. I rest my case, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over there.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to speak on behalf of my people of Kanyama constituency. My name is Theodore Shimwa from Chinika Secondary School, standing to debate on the motion presented before the House. May I state as I begin that broken homes are equals to a nation in danger because a family is the foundation of the nation. On this very line, may I also state that the government still has a lot of work to do in the lines of social welfare, because as much as public infrastructure is good and in fact necessary for the visual development of the nation, there is still much work needed by the government to put in place infrastructure dedicated to social welfare. Talk about affordable or even free marriage counseling units. May the government under the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services look into it, because if we have families that are in a good state, this will prevent the spread of this vice of gender-based violence. May I quote from a published document by the Journal of Criminal Justice, published on the 18th of January 2023. Under its purpose, it states, and I quote, "Children who experience a family breakdown due to the separation or divorce of their parents may be at an increased risk of violent offending, especially if they have experienced a disadvantaged upbringing that included low family income, marital disharmony, or parental criminality." May I also take this opportunity to call up to the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services to put in place mechanisms to follow up on reported cases, because what are the odds that a husband who has committed...
Point of order has been raised.
Thank you for finally recognizing me, Madam Speaker. I rise on a serious point of order. As we can see, the precurrent honorable member across from me is making his quotation using his mobile device. Therefore, it is under our understanding as honorable members that he will be unable to lay it on the table and submit it for scrutinization. Therefore, is he in order to make a quotation if he is unable to submit what he is quoting from? I seek your serious guidance, Madam Speaker. Is he in order to make a quotation without being able to submit it?
The honorable member is in order and he will lay his phone as evidence. He may continue with his debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and for the sake of the House, I am more than willing to lay down my device for evidence. As I was saying, I would love to call out the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services to put in place mechanisms to follow up on reported cases, because what are the odds that a husband who has committed the offense of gender-based violence has been reported, jailed, or even fined will simply go back home and act as if nothing has happened? This calls for a serious concern. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable member seated over there.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to speak. Well, I would go directly to the points of ending gender-based violence. My first point is raising awareness of gender-based violence in families, communities, and marketplaces. Because there are some women who are married, but they do not know what gender-based violence, how it starts, and how they can end it. They do not know anything. So by that, we need to advocate using televisions and posting on the media about gender-based
Point of order,
violence.
Madam Speaker.
We need to use other media platforms to raise awareness of gender-based violence
Point
using
of order, Madam
televisions
Speaker.
and other
The
media
point of order
platforms.
has been raised.
Madam Speaker, I think the debater did not introduce himself.
Sorry, my apologies. My name is Patrick Sakala from Nadi constituency. Okay, so I'll move on to my next point. My next point is developing guidelines to eliminate gender-based violence in families. There are some families whereby the woman depends on the woman depends on her husband. So you find that the husband goes to work and comes back drunk, and he starts beating up his wife, and then you find that the wife doesn't tell anyone. So we need to advertise on the televisions so that the woman can be aware. And the neighbors who are the witnesses of violence, sometimes you find that they know that the man abuses his wife, but you find they do not report because maybe they are afraid of maybe breaking the relationship between the man and the woman. My next point is we as honorable members of parliament, we need to acknowledge the problem of gender-based violence as an urgent concern to be addressed in the chamber like this one. Yes, we need to talk about gender-based violence, and we need to tell those people in rural areas about gender-based violence. And the other issue which is causing gender-based violence is lack of equal gender equality gender equality. So we need to include women and girls in decision-making positions at all levels of leadership, because you find that in some other countries they say that a woman can't be a president, but us as a Christian nation, we accept women to be presidents and vice presidents. So as for me, I would like to say that as honorable members of parliament, we need to take each other as equal, 50-50. So we need to be equal in all the positions
Point of order.
in all the positions of leadership. I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to the motion at hand. My name is Faith Hauswa, representing Chama constituency. Madam Speaker, GBV is something that's affecting the people, especially for our Zambian society, every day, and it must be eliminated. Firstly, bringing GBV clinical services in lower level health facilities and develop practice guidance for the victims. Secondly, believe and support the survivors. Madam Speaker, one of the biggest barriers on ending GBV is that survivors are not often believed when they speak up, and we need to make sure that they have the support they need. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, performing some live drama stories based on gender-based violence can also help end GBV, and publish the drama stories on, on all social media platforms, on public TVs, as well as the radio station, so that people will be aware of what's really affecting the people, especially for a school-going child. With a few points, I raise my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am Akungu Mwenya, standing here representing Mandevu constituency, would like to proceed. Gender-based violence is the violence that is against another gender. And I would like to say that this affects people physically. An example is a man beating his wife because she did not cook. And another example is a woman beating a child because he or she refuses to do a specific task for her. Gender-based violence can also affect people psychologically. Women out there going to young men and forcing them to do or have sex with them because they are failing to get married. And I would like to put that to an end. It's not only women that are getting violated, it's also men. Yes, and in conclusion, I raised my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the wonderful call. My name is Veronica Chileshe from Kalilwe Day Secondary School, representing Mumba Central constituency on the motion which states to end gender-based violence. First and foremost, Madam Speaker, allow me to define gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is the violence which involves males and females, whether young and old, poor and rich, being victims of cases such as sexual harassment, defilement, property grabbing, and rape, either in or outside marriage. Therefore, Madam Speaker, it is a term that captures any type of violence rooted in exploiting unequal power between genders. Madam Speaker, in this case, in order to reduce and ultimately end gender-based violence, there is need for us citizens to engage ourselves in the fight against gender-based violence, regardless of sex, age, ethnic grouping, and economic status, because we don't know who may be the victim tomorrow. Madam Speaker, this is the word of within, because citizens helping the country, the government fight against crime is one of the duties of a good citizen. And some of the ways that citizens can contribute to the fight against gender-based violence is by sensitizing communities, reporting cases on gender-based violence, counseling and encouraging victims of gender-based violence, and also by reporting suspected and well-known people involved in gender-based violence. Not only that, Madam Speaker, in Zambia we have different languages. This may make it easy to simplify, popularize, and translate into local languages the effects, causes, and solutions to gender-based violence. Apart from that, Madam Speaker, corruption must also be put to an end in order to ultimately end gender-based violence. Under corruption, Madam Speaker, this is where some of law enforcement agencies are bribed to drop cases of gender-based violence or to weaken punishment for offenders of gender-based violence. And Madam Speaker, for as long as the punishment is weak for the people involved in gender-based violence, it will be hard to
Point of
end.
order, Madam Speaker.
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, it won't be easy to end gender-based violence. But, Madam Speaker, there is always a possibility to make the impossible possible. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the punishment should be given to the offenders must be stiff, so that it may be a lesson for some of the offenders who may want to engage in the
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Who may want to engage themselves in gender-based violence. As for law enforcement agencies who go up against the law, Madam Speaker, by favoring the offenders of gender-based violence, capacity must be built among these law enforcement agencies to handle cases of gender-based violence by increasing their skills in counseling, psychology,
Order, your time is
social
up.
work. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Taumanamuke, representing Munali constituency. There are so many ways of ending gender-based violence, but I'm going to focus on three. The first one is increasing relevant funding. There's so many groups out there, such as SWL, Support Women's Livelihood. This group ensures that gender-based violence is put to an end. How? It keeps girls in schools. It helps women economically. It also offers business opportunities to women who have business ideas. The second way of ending GBV is including women in decision making. Why should women be included in decision making? This is to help eradicate the mentality that a man is superior to a woman. This brings about gender equality because a woman gets to know that she can as well do what a man can do. Example, we have our vice president, a woman. She acts as an inspiration out there to women. They know that they can do as much as something a man can do. The third point is the third point is the third point is abolishing cultural norms such as the mentality that a woman should be superior to a man, that a man should be superior to a woman, the mentality that a man should beat up his wife as a form of love. That mentality should be eradicated. And the second one is a woman. The second one is a woman being told to maintain her reputation, the family reputation, by keeping quiet. So, um, the government has so many tools. If you can have a lot of tools, but if you're not maintaining the tools, then they are useless. So the government should fund the tools that are already there, such as the NGOs, by supporting them financially so that they don't get discouraged. They continue funding women and helping them. And also they should punish those found wanting. I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me the opportunity to make my voice heard on the motion which states as I quote, end gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, my name is Martin Ngoi, representing Dollar Central constituency at Kanini Secondary School. Madam Speaker, I will not take much of the August time in defining what gender-based violence is. Madam Speaker, I will just go quickly and state some few of the causes and the solutions. Madam Speaker, most areas where gender-based violence is found are in relationships like marriages and petty relationships like girlfriends and boyfriends. Madam Speaker, we do know that arguments are part of relationships and that we can not, and sorry, Madam Speaker, we do know that relationships are going to face arguments at one point in time. Madam Speaker, the solution to that is not by acting in a relationship like it is a boxing ring. Madam Speaker, we can either go and see our council, we can either go see specialists in council, or you can see your local pastors. Madam Speaker, another cause of gender-based violence is gender inequality, which is unfair treatment given to someone because of their gender. Madam Speaker, we've seen that statistics have shown that most victims of gender-based violence are women and young girls. Madam Speaker, so for this one, the solution is that the ladies...
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, for this one, the solution is that ladies should be more role models for the generation to come. Madam Speaker, we need ladies and women to hold up places in parliament. We need ladies to hold up Sorry, Madam Speaker. We need ladies to hold up seats in parliament, Madam Speaker. We need ladies to hold up places like being presidents, Madam Speaker. We need ladies to hold up places like being CEOs. Because once we get rid of gender inequality, we will get rid of gender-based violence. Because, Madam Speaker, one thing that men are now saying is that the Bible says that a man is the head of the house, but the Bible also says he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So, Madam Speaker, why would you beat that good thing that you found, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, may I continue by saying?
Order.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
A point of order has been raised.
Madam Speaker, how has end of gender-based violence changed to gender inequality?
He may proceed with his debate. He's in order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Zambia is a Christian nation. Gender-based violence is not only wrong in the eyes of the law, but Madam Speaker, gender-based violence is also detrimental to society, and it is evil in the eyes of God. Madam Speaker,
we must get rid of gender-based violence. The social media is taking a key role in play. Sorry, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the social media is playing a key role in this. But Madam Speaker, people in rural areas are not being able to be beneficiaries of this because they cannot afford stuff like TVs and cell phones. So Madam Speaker, the solution to this one is that we must make voluntary groups and we must get government sponsorship for us to go there and talk to them and sensitize them in their mother tongue. Madam Speaker, may I conclude by saying gender-based violence is wrong. And Madam Speaker, let us bring an end to gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, let us come to an end of parents abusing their children by language. Madam Speaker, let us bring an end to parents fighting in the house. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Honorable member seated at the back.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Wendy Walia, coming from Sishemo Education Trust, Kawata constituency. I will not take my time stating what gender-based violence is. We need to put an end to gender-based violence. Children are being abused by older men. Stop any type of violence. The least we could do is to take a stand for ourselves and others. Educate people to stop abuse and victim blaming. I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me such a rare opportunity to express the views of my people. My name is Honorable Member Miola Olivia from Babala constituency in Choma District, Southern Province. Madam Speaker, according to the motion at hand, gender-based violence, this is a violence that is directed on a person because of a person's gender, or it is a violence that affects persons of a particular gender disproportionality. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence can be inflicted on a person physically, sexually, or in a psychological manner, and it causes harm and suffering on the victim. Madam Speaker, there are many causes of gender-based violence in my constituency, one of which is unemployment. Madam Speaker, unemployment, it causes income stress, and in a household where there's income stress, there is obviously domestic violence. Madam Speaker, our main aim of this debate is to find ways of eradicating gender-based violence. And one of the ways is by understanding the root causes of gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, as honorable members, if we're able to go out there and understand the root causes of gender-based violence, definitely we'll be able to eradicate it by preventing it. Madam Speaker, another way of eradicating gender-based violence, it is by carrying out campaigns, outreaches, peer-to-peer education, and by including gender equality as a topic in every aspect of education. This simply means that each and every level of education, we must include gender equality as a topic to make sure that children are taught at a tender age about the dangers of gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, another way of eradicating gender-based violence is by finding non-harmful alternative means to harmful traditions. Madam Speaker, in our country, there are some traditions that are harmful, that are highly contributing to gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, let me give an example of the Chivelewele tradition that is performed or practiced in Chibombo district. Madam Speaker, this tradition is where girls are subjected to sexual practices. This is highly contributing to gender-based violence. To show that I'm a honorable member of integrity, to show that I'm a honorable member of integrity, allow me to quote from the newspaper dated Monday, December 6th, 2021, beginning of quotation. A harmful tradition practice known as Chilewelewe, which is meant to prepare girls for sex, has continued to be observed in Chiwombo District, Central Province. End of quotation. Madam Speaker, if we continue with such traditional practices, this is highly contributing to gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, if we as the honorable members, together with His Excellency Mr. Hagainde Hijilema, in collaboration with the House of Chiefs, if we are able to change such traditions, we'll be able to eradicate completely gender-based violence. With these few but important points of mine, allow me to submit.
Honorable member at the back there.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me an opportunity to add my voice on the motion at hand. My name is Jenny Nyambe from Toma constituency, representing Toma Day Secondary School. Madam Speaker, the solutions to GBV. Madam Speaker, first of all, I will agree with my fellow honorable members to say gender equality must be embraced in the land of Zambia. And also, Madam Speaker, I feel that it is high time that the community as well as the police begin to embrace as well as to console the victims, Madam Speaker. And aside from that, Madam Speaker, something that has raised concern in the land of Zambia, Madam Speaker, is that Zambia, it is an improving as well as a developing country. But, Madam Speaker, is the mentality of the Zambians improving? Madam Speaker, it is high time that literacy of GBV is stretched out to the community in Zambia, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, I feel that it is high time that also the anti-GB clubs, it is high time that they are supported as well as funded by the CDF so that they can be extended to the communities, Madam Speaker. Because a number of people who engage into GBV, they are not educated. And we know that they've never been to school. They don't have the literacy about GBV. So if they are able to access it through the anti-GB clubs in the community, maybe, Madam Speaker, GBV might end. And also, Madam Speaker, something that has raised concern, Madam Speaker, is that the police are
Point of
lenient.
order, Madam Speaker.
The police are lenient, Madam Speaker.
A point of order has been raised.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Is the honorable in order to be using the terminology GBV, Madam Speaker? Thank you.
The honorable member is in order. She may continue the debate.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. GBV, it is actually an abbreviation of gender-based violence. Well, Madam Speaker, another point that I think is that it is high time that the community, rather the people of the communities, are encouraged to report cases, Madam Speaker. And also, I'm still on the CDF funds, Madam Speaker, because it might also help the victims. Because a number of the victims, Madam Speaker, are those people who don't have anything to do. And when the perpetrators, it is actually a family members who holds a high position, who feeds the house, actually called the provider, Madam Speaker, they fail to report cases. But if the CDF funds is open to them, that even when they report cases to the police, it can help them to have access to a proper income in the house or a capital to start a business, Madam Speaker. And also, Madam Speaker, I feel that it is high time that parents must also play a role in gender-based violence, where they can also help in treating of both children, boys and girls, treating them equally in the house when it comes to curfew, Madam Speaker. Because most of the times, women are abused when they are moving alone in the communities, Madam Speaker. But why is that? And they are called prostitutes, Madam Speaker.
Order, your time is up.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to air my voice in the August House. Before I go further by saying anything, my name is Matthew Bosheth Monde, representing Kansanshi Secondary School, Nola Central Constituency. Madam Speaker, allow me to refresh the minds of the August House, as many have been quoted without giving a definition of gender-based violence. So gender-based violence is an umbrella term incapacitating of all harmful acts which are directed on a human being based on their gender. With such things, let me proceed. Gender-based violence is simply something so harmful, I won't waste time on by giving the efforts because they are known. I'll go straight by targeting the sniper and giving the solutions and causes to gender-based violence. One of the causes to gender-based violence is what we call ignorance. Ignorance is there in Zambia. Ignorance is there in the world, and we can't run away from that. What are we going to do about it? We're going to make sure that people go to school. We're going to make sure girls go to school. an empty tin will always accept any information given to it. People there are going to practice gender-based violence because they don't have knowledge on it. If I feed with bad things, you accept them because there's nothing in your mind. But if people have got information on gender-based violence, but if people have got information on gender-based violence, they will not practice it. They are going to understand the effects of gender-based violence because they want our country to be
Point of
developed.
order, Madam Speaker.
With such words, I proceed. Another cause of gender-based violence is what we call early marriages. Early marriages are there, which is also caused by
Point of
poverty.
order,
Early
Madam
marriages are
Speaker.
there, and we in
A
Zambia are
point
not
of order
going
has been
to.
raised.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, is the honorable member in order to call the amazing people of Zambia empty tins, empty cans? I thank you. I seek your serious ruling. Thank you very much.
The honorable member has taken into account he may proceed with his debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. So, as I proceed, another cause of gender-based violence is what we call background or current affairs. Background is there. Looking at the background, people are beaten. Females are beaten because they are weaker than male. That is the aspect. But what can we do about that? We're going to anchor the younger plants to the ground. What do I mean? We, the children, are going to develop how we are the ones who are going to grow up. When we grow up, we'll be the ones who practice gender-based violence. So if we teach the children, if we educate the children, there will be no other form of gender-based violence. Love needs to be there for education to occur.
A point of order has been raised.
Yeah, listen to the honorable member said that men are stronger than women. But I think even men are being beaten, yes. Even women are strong. Thank you.
Allow the honorable member to continue with his debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I continue, we children will grow up to men and women. And if we have information on gender-based violence and how it's affecting our society and how it's going to affect other societies to come, we'll be there not to practice gender-based violence, promote love, and end gender-based violence. With few words, I submit.
The honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Holandumba, representing Munali constituency. To go back
Your
to the
name
motion,
again?
Chalulandumba. Going back to the motion that has already been explained by my fellow members, may I not waste the chair's time and go directly to the causes of gender-based violence? Illiteracy is one of the biggest forms of gender-based violence.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
She may proceed.
Illiteracy is the cause of people not knowing their rights, Madam Speaker. If a girl doesn't know her rights, she will be harassed. And that will cause her to have a low self-esteem. So we need a country of educated people for us to have a country of advocates.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, we need more advocates in the country.
Point of order.
Who deal with such situations. If we have more women who are educated, Madam Speaker, then we will have a generation of free-minded people.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
The other one, illiteracy, also brings about unemployment. Madam Speaker, if we have an illiterate nation, then we will also have an uneducated nation. Then we will also have unemployed people. We need people to be educated for us to eradicate.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order has been raised. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we all know that in rural areas, not all parents afford to take their children to school. That is why the government has brought upon free education. So these people that she's saying illiterate can still go to school, but it's not everybody who can take their child to school, even though it's free, because not all parents can afford to buy books.
Order.
What's your point of order?
So, Madam, I am clearly saying that even though the government has introduced free education, parents can still not take their children to school.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, a point of order is only raised when there is a breach to the rules of the House,
not to debate through your point of orders. She may continue with her debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The other root to the cause of gender-based violence is tradition. We have known that in our common rural areas, we have a lot of people who believe that a man is more supreme than a woman. So if we all believe in that, it means that we will not progress, Madam Speaker. So we need people to focus more on gender equity and gender equality for us to progress, Madam Speaker. The other one is when a man earns more. When a man earns more than a woman is abused. If a woman earns more than a man is also abused. It goes both ways. The other one is petty jealousy, Madam Speaker. Petty jealousy also causes that. If a woman is jealous of a husband, maybe a husband is found with another woman in a road, the woman will probably do something mechanical as putting hot oil on the stove and going to pour on the man because she's jealous, Madam Speaker. So, to the solutions. We should build more schools in rural areas for us to eradicate illiteracy. Madam Speaker, sorry. For us to eradicate illiteracy, we need more schools in rural areas. The other one is awareness of parents. There are some situations where a girl will go to their parents to say that a man is abusing me. But the mother would say, that's your home. That's where you stay. You should live there.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My name is Evelyn Mumba. I'm here to represent Nali constituency. And I'll just go forward on the solutions to end gender-based violence. My first solution is we as law enforcers, together with the community, we need to understand the specific root causes of gender-based violence. My other point is challenge other gender norms that perpetuate gender-based violence, like some traditional cultures such as Chinamwali initiation ceremony that only trains a girl to take care of a home and a husband. Madam Speaker, which is not very good. And it only limits the girl's capacity to widen and broaden her achievements. My other point is pay special attention to high-risk group of gender-based violence by encouraging them to remain focused on their dream goals on and assure them that there will be light at the end of the tunnel, or to every dark cloud there is a silver lining. My other point is we as a community, we must always believe what the survivors tell us, financially, emotionally, socially, and economically. Madam Speaker, my other point is let us develop an action plan that perpetrates gender-based violence. My other point is educate ourselves in the root causes of gender-based violence together with the community. Madam Speaker, my last point is we as honorable members of this parliament, let us focus on building the community change in a way that everyone, especially girls and women, ought to feel loved and accepted.
Point
I
of
rest
order,
my
Madam
case.
Speaker.
Proceed.
I rest my case, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member at the back there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for offering me this opportunity. My name is Grace Lungu. I come from the Chilenji South Secondary School representing Kawata constituency. We are focusing on the motion that says raising awareness to end gender-based violence. We are not talking about the causes, we're not talking about the effects. We know, and that's why we want it to be eradicated. We realize that gender-based violence is one of the country's major problems. Let us concede to the fact that women and girls are extremely affected by gender-based violence. We speak of causes and effects, but let us focus on the solutions that are in line with the motion at hand. Promoting civil society organizations, empowerment of women,
enhancing girls' education, and let us stop victim blaming. Empowerment of women. Women and girls do not have to rely on their husbands and fathers. They can choose to live by choosing to live that life and starting their own. They don't have to be held by the bondage of them being in custody of their husbands, them being in custody of their fathers. They can choose to live their own life, but then they cannot do that if they are not educated, if they are not empowered. We speak of upbringing. When you are in a broken family and it is headed by a violent and abusive male, boys grow up believing that's the way they're supposed to act. And girls think that's an accepted way men will treat them. This is more common in rural areas. Let us take action in
Point of
regards.
order, Madam Speaker.
Let us take action in regards to these cultural norms. The upbringing that we are being, the growth of a child is affected by how they are brought up. So if a child is, especially in rural areas, where girls are considered inferior to men, the media, the community, individuals, families will let us take a stand to eradicate gender-based violence. I will not speak much because most of the points have been spoken here. All I am saying is emphasis. We have focused more on the urban areas. We all know most people in urban areas are educated. But why are we leaving out the rural areas? Why is it that there are a few schools in rural areas? Children cannot be educated in rural areas. There aren't police posts in rural areas. People have got nowhere to report to. How is it going to end if we're just focusing on one area of the community? So let us put into consideration. With this, allow me to submit, and I hereby submit. Thank you very much.
Honorable member at the back there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice over the motion that has already been moved by the mover of the motion. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence undermines a person's self-worth, self-esteem, and not only does it affect physical health, but also mental health, and it can lead to self-harm, suicidal attempts, and at times, depression.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Yes, as I was saying, Madam Speaker, gender-based violence can be eradicated by engaging traditional leaders and through hosting community dialogues particularly with boys and men, with the aim of the program or objective to discourage gender-based violence and to challenge social and cultural
Point of order,
norms,
Madam Speaker.
and to challenge social and cultural norms that may perpetuate this form of violence. Another point, Madam Speaker, is that we should remember that violence is a choice and it is preventable.
Point of serious order, Madam Speaker.
The point of order has been raised.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As the previous speaker, the honorable member to my right, said, we are here to find solutions. Therefore, I believe I'm not the only honorable member present who is finding it very hard to seek substance in what the kind speaker is saying. He is neither giving us solutions nor problems. Therefore, is he in order to waste the good people of Zambia's time, Madam Speaker?
Point order, Madam Speaker.
Order. Order. Honorable members of parliament, you are not allowed to debate through your point of orders, and if you disagree, you can keep it for later in your debates. A point of order can only be raised if there is a breach to the rules of the House. He may continue with his debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I was saying that violence, we should remember that violence is a choice and it is preventable. Let us not make excuses for people, for friends and peers that joke of this same violence. Madam Speaker, with these few points, I submit. Thank you so much. My name is Rebecca from Chawama constituency. I submit.
Honorable member at the back here.
Good morning, honorable members of the House. My name is Amaide Ganya. I'm coming from Sishemo Education Trust, Kawata constituency. And before I begin, I would like to thank Madam Speaker for giving me the opportunity to speak on the motion that states Stop Gender-Based Violence. When men beat or sexually abuse women or girls, or when women beat or emotionally abuse men, they are committing gender-based violence. Recognize the role of gender in violence. While boys and men do experience gender-based violence, it is important to remember that the majority of victims of violence are female, and the majority of perpetrators of violence are men and boys. Number 2, stop sexual harassment. Don't engage in any forms of sexual harassment such as catcalling and unwanted touching, and be empowered to speak against friends or peers who do so. Before I submit, Madam Speaker, allow me to conclude by saying gender-based violence is illegal. It is a crime. People who commit gender-based violence must be sent to jail. Men and women should treat each other with respect and quality. Thank you.
Honorable member seated there.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for awarding me the chance to air my voice on the motion that states end gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, my name is Kakwesi Gausi, representing Ndola Central constituency, coming from Kansenshi Secondary School. Now, Madam Speaker, it would be uncivilized of myself to go on without first defining the key term in my own understanding, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence is any act of abuse that happens to a person based off of their gender, Madam Speaker, whether physical, psychosocial, Madam Speaker, or economical, also known as structural, Madam Speaker. There are various causes such as conflict, drug abuse, and, Madam Speaker, poverty. Now, Madam Speaker, these causes, Madam Speaker, eat on themselves, Madam Speaker. Why am I going to the causes instead of the solutions first, Madam Speaker? I would first like to say, Madam Speaker, we have to understand that to solve a problem, we need proper monitoring and evaluation, also known as M&E, which is a solution, Madam Speaker. Things like poverty, Madam Speaker, eat on themselves. It is fire to water, Madam Speaker, because poverty causes gender-based violence, and gender-based violence leads to poverty, Madam Speaker. That's why we need proper research and information, Madam Speaker. That's why we need proper research, because we can perform advocacy, one, Madam Speaker, and two, Madam Speaker, we can also perform what is known as education in the community and perform proper communication, Madam Speaker, because when we perform proper communication, the public will be aware, Madam Speaker. We need to educate the public, Madam Speaker. That's why I'm sitting on proper monitoring and evaluation. I have evidence that has come in here from the Institute, Madam Speaker, in the UK, London, by Jenny Parks and the UCL Institute, Madam Speaker, stating that, as I quote, the report begins to detail methodologically used to carry out research before discussing patterns, Madam Speaker. Now, why am I going to this, Madam Speaker? I want to explain that these patterns have to first be analyzed, and that's why I'm encouraging the people of Zambia, Madam Speaker, to first understand the topic, Madam Speaker. And it is our job, Madam Speaker, to let the people understand the topic, Madam Speaker, by providing proper monitoring and evaluation, Madam Speaker. That's why government and its partners, Madam Speaker, such as, for example,
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
such as, Madam Speaker, for example, given Young Men's Christians Association, Madam Speaker, can perform advocacy to let the people be aware of what's happening, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I go on, I am not talking from without, but from within, Madam Speaker. They say the best time to plant a seed is 14 years ago, and that is why I'm going back to a newspaper that was provided by Post, Monday, June 22nd, 2009, by Kamakoma, when he called for quality education, Madam Speaker. He said poverty would never be reduced unless provisions and quality education is enhanced, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I come forward to provide the evidence. Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker, for awarding me this chance. I submit.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to add my voice to the motion or to speak to the voiceless of the people of Trauma constituency. My name is Tembo Anastasia, representing Trauma Dare Secondary School from Trauma constituency. Madam Speaker, I will concentrate much more on the possible solution because we all know, honorable members, GBV or gender-based violence has just brought negative effect to our lives. Madam Speaker, the possible solution that I have is, number one, we need to sensitize people in my constituency. In terms of sensitization, in my constituency, Madam Speaker, we only have one secondary school, and how can we sensitize people? How can we introduce health clubs without schools, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker,
Point of order, Madam
as it
Speaker.
is said, Madam Speaker, a school is a building block of every
Point of
child
order,
where
Madam
we sit
Speaker.
and dash our dreams, where we sit and babysit our future, Madam
Point
Speaker.
of order.
Order.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
A point of order has been
Thank
raised.
you. Madam Speaker, I'll go right into it to avoid debating using the point of order. Is the precurrent speaker in order to state without evidence that there is a constituency in this country where there is only one school? I seek your serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
The honorable member is in order and she may proceed with her debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Too much of fireworks where there is fuel may cause an explosion. Allow me to continue. Madam Speaker, where I come from, Chawama constituency, as evidence, you can ask or you can go there yourself in Chawama constituency. We only have one secondary school, which is Chawama Dare Secondary School. It is used from 06 to 12:40 morning sessions and from 13 hours to 17:30 as afternoon sessions. There is no time for health clubs so that they can be sensitized, so that they can sensitize the pupils at school. Madam Speaker, if the Ministry of Education would take this matter serious and at hand and build more schools in my constituency, there will be 0.00%
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
of GBV. With a few points, Madam Speaker, I submit.
Point of order.
Honorable members, there will no longer be any point of orders in this house. Honorable member from there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for recognizing me and, of course, according me an opportunity to pass my own views on today's motion. My name is Karen Shimumbi from Chinike Secondary School, representing Kanyama constituency. Madam Speaker, please do allow me to say that the prevalence of gender-based violence can be attributed to the fact that little or no legal action is taken on the perpetrators of this vice, and of course, this is due to the fact that the victims do not know how to access help. Madam Speaker, do allow me to take us back to some unfortunate times during the COVID-19 pandemic, to which Zambia developed a free, toll-free hotline that is 909. And you all will agree with me to say that hotline was aired and circulated on each and every media platform and media network. Madam Speaker, sir, I am made to believe that this was done to ensure that we could all access help and information. My problem is that we have a gender-based violence free toll-free hotline that is 933 gender-based violence and 116 for children help. But my problem is that the majority of our population do not know the fact that we even have a hotline. Why is it that the government would take so much time to focus on the pandemic and yet not take time to look at such a pandemic as gender-based violence? Isn't it true that if gender-based violence can cause death, it too should be seen as a pandemic? I feel that the government should also consider sensitizing the community on not only the effects and the causes of gender-based violence, but on also how to, of course, access help under gender-based violence. I can tell you to say the average Kanyama resident does not know that we even have a hotline for gender-based violence. With that, Madam Speaker, I rest my case. Thank you.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to give my motion. I, Tamani Mwanya, representing Mandevu constituency, would like to go to the motion end gender-based violence. End of quotation. Thank you. I would like to give a few reasons to why I think gender-based violence should end. It is a human right violation that affects people's families and communities. It causes physical and psychological pain such as mental distress and emotional trauma. It affects education and work, such as people going to schools and people going for employment. It improves mental health, such as people who go through gender-based violence undertake things such as mental distress and mental health issues. It helps increase gender equality, and with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Honorable member seated here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to add my voice to the motion before the House, which has been put in question. My name is Taonga Bande, representing Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, we have gathered here so that we should share the knowledge on how we can eradicate this animal called GBV, gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, the first solution on how we can eradicate GBV is by developing an action plan. We need to plan ahead in a situation where someone we know or a total stranger they are being abusive. Madam Speaker, it will be much easier to interrupt such situation. We know what we will do beforehand. Madam Speaker, here comes a situation where a peer comes to us to talk to us on how we can on how she has been violated. We need to plan what we will do, or else we'll be also arrested by the police. Madam Speaker, as I was inspecting Chawama Day Secondary School, I came across to say Chawama Day Secondary School has only 9 classes, of which one is being used as a staff room. And Chawama Day Secondary School has a lot of students, Madam Speaker, which is disadvantaging other children to go back to school and improving the number of illiteracy in my constituency. Madam Speaker, I feel as the government, if we work hand in hand, we will be able to build more secondary schools in order to keep our boy child and our girl child. We need to inquire the number, and we also need to conquer the gender equality so that boys and girls they should be treated equally, men and boys. Madam Speaker, men should be they should build more playgrounds so that men shouldn't be using their energy to abuse other children, to abuse people's children, but they should waste their energy on doing other stuff to look for money on how they can improve their life. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to add my voice to the motion, which has been moved by the mover. My name is Nkandu Varik, representing Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence is a serious problem throughout the world that has enabled a lot of people to commit suicide and enabled Africa from developing. My first point, Madam Speaker, promoting clubs in schools and communities, clubs which would help to educate the people about GBV, educating them about the effects of GBV. It could help us in encouraging people to fight against gender-based violence, not only here in urban areas, but also in rural areas, because most people in rural areas do not have enough knowledge about GBV. They do not know of the effects about GBV. So if we could educate the people in rural areas, it could help us in ending GBV. My second point, Madam Speaker, the radio stations should have more programs of GBV, because a lot of people in Zambia love listening to radio programs. So if they could have radio programs about GBV, it could help to educate a lot of people in Zambia, and giving an opportunity to victims to, to pass on their views or to voice out their problems. It could help us in educating the people. My third point, Madam Speaker, opening an organization for men, because here in Zambia we have a lot of organizations for women, for we think that only women can be abused, but I think that also men can be abused. So if we open organizations where men could voice out, where men could report, because a lot of men are discouraged to report their cases. They are afraid to report their cases to the police or to the community, because if a man reports his case to the community, telling the community that I have been abused by my wife, people will tend to laugh at the man. My fourth point, Madam Speaker, educating our girls and women and empowering them. For education, Madam Speaker, I would first love to thank the government for introducing free education, but I think they should not end there, because when a child reaches grade 12, you find they have no money to take a child to the university. So I think that the government should work hand in hand to help the children to reach the university level. Madam Speaker, my other point is that we should educate the children both in rural areas and urban areas, because children, if they are educated, they could know about the human rights and they could know ways on how to stand against gender-based violence.
Madam Speaker, my other point is that discouraging partners from marrying one another for selfish gains. Because here in Zambia, you find that a man marries a woman for selfish gains. For example, a man marries a woman for the sake that she works in the government, or a woman marries a man because a man has money.
Order.
So I think,
Order.
with
The time
this
is up.
viewpoint, I rest my case, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me this opportunity to add my voice to the motion at hand. Madam Speaker, my name is Grace Chiwe, representing Chawama constituency. I won't concentrate much on the effects or the causes, and I won't define GBV because it has already been defined. So I'll go direct to the solutions that I brought to share in this honorable house. The first point that I have is keep girls in schools. Madam Speaker, I still don't understand why some girls and boys are still not going to school even though there is free education. Because of this, children are starting to engage in activities such as abusing drugs and alcohol consumption at their teenage. So I pledge, Madam Speaker, I urge the people that are watching me and my fellow honorables in this honorable house that let's encourage our parents to take our children to schools so that they do not engage in activities that are bad, that will affect them, because they are the future leaders of tomorrow, because their current speakers that are present, one day they are going to retire and we have to going to come in. So we need to keep our girls in schools. The second point that I have is engage men as allies. In as much as we are supporting women, we need to engage men as allies so that it balances on both sides, so that also men can have the knowledge on GBV, so that they will not engage in such activities. And the third point that I have is empowering women economically. We have organizations that are empowering women, but I feel that they need to be empowered even economically, because we have some women who are staying in their marriages, even though they are being abused, they don't want to come out of those marriages because they feel they can't support themselves economically. Madam Speaker, I feel that they need to be empowered economically so that they can voice out when they are being abused, so that they can come out of those toxic marriages. With these few points that I had, I raised my case, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member, sit over there.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this lovely opportunity for me to represent my lovely constituency where I'm coming from, Munali constituency. My name's Basic Akoma. Madam Speaker, without the causes, we cannot find the solutions. That's why I'm here today to talk about the causes. One of the causes to this issue at hand is because our people are not reporting such matters to the police station. Not reporting such matters to the police station is like saving a crime, which is encouraging the criminal itself or the crime at hand to continue. Madam Speaker, I heard my fellow honorables saying the government isn't doing anything, but Madam Speaker, I'm here to support the government for the government to come up with police station, meaning that they are hand in hand trying and wants to eliminate, or should I rather say combat or stop, put an end to gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, the government is working, and how do you expect the government to work if my fellow people, the public, where I'm coming from, they take the case to the police station and withdraw it? Meaning we give our government powerless or no authority to deal with the case. Madam Speaker, from my lovely people, we are here with an appeal to say, may we please, Madam Speaker, educate our people on the cases of withdrawing the cases. Such cases that they withdraw, it's not like withdrawing money from the booth. No, such cases it's like withdrawing pain from someone who has caused it and inflicting pain on someone who was. Madam Speaker, I guess I'm too speed.
I'll slow down a bit. Madam Speaker, my constituency has come to this and they've seen that our government is working. For the government to put up policies to allow non-governmental organization to work hand in hand with these matters, meaning they also want to eliminate, to end this case. If the government wasn't interested, they have the power, they would have said no to the non-governmental organization. But because they want to put an end to this, they agreed to work hand in hand with them. With these few points, I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Bright Kavati, coming from Lusaka Central Constituency, and I have 5 solutions that can end gender-based violence. First one, to acknowledge the problem and understand the problem. The second, to know the risks. The odds of experiencing violence are not the same for everyone. Third one, to stop blaming or shaming the victims. Normally, victims won't report GBV cases to the police because they feel blamed or shamed by their families, friends, and offended. Fourth one, be alert to non-physical violence. Not all GBV cases are physical, e.g. name-calling, stalking, and harassment. Fifth one, to promote gender diversity in communities. Gender diversity in the community needs to be there, e.g. practical in leadership roles. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Chauta Mwene, representing Chauma constituency. Madam Speaker, GBV has been a problem that needs to be sorted out. It has made our children to be vulnerable in terms of voicing out their opinions on the basis of what the community thinks. Madam Speaker, GBV has great effect on children's mental and physical health. It has made our children to be dropping out of school, thereby increasing the rate of illiteracy in Zambia. Madam Speaker, GBV can only be eradicated, or the cases can only be eradicated if the community and the police work hand in hand by reporting cases of GBV that are happening in the community. And also, Madam Speaker, educating yourself about the root causes and the effects of GBV so that you can go into the community and disseminate or teach others about how we can report or end GBV in the community and the country at large. Madam Speaker, being an advocate on social media, many of us use social media for the wrong purposes that do not benefit the country. But we can use social media in disseminating information about how we can end GBV in the country. Madam Speaker, be alert to non-physical violence. Many of us here think that GBV is only physical, but even the ways that we speak to our children and the treatment that we treat other people in the communities, those are also violences. They cause emotional violence and psychological violence. Madam Speaker, providing recreational centers for both genders, male and female, so that they can use their energy on those centers instead of going into the community and abuse people in the communities. Madam Speaker, the media has continued to depict the position of women as being subordinate to men. We need to encourage the media to provide information on how we can support women and men in the societies. Madam Speaker, as the saying goes, there's no problem without a solution. So we need the police, the government, and the people in the society to work together to eradicate these cases. Madam Speaker, we need to work together to end GBV because it has been a great effect on our economy and the society. I thank you.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the motion that states stop gender-based violence. My first point. Before I continue, I would like to introduce
your name
myself.
And where you're coming from.
My name is Ruth Lukali, coming from Kawata constituency. My first point, get the message out. Youth do not need to rely on the mainstream media to get the message out. Social media is a great way to share articles, tips, and tools for the prevention of violence. Develop an action plan. Plan ahead what you would do in a situation where people you know or strangers are being abusive. Be a mentor. Volunteer your time to speak into others. This will bring awareness to the issue, which will motivate others to act on. Madam Speaker, before I take my seat, I would like to conclude. Government should promote gender equality by including women in decision making at leadership level, empowering women economically, and keeping girls in school. Thank you.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me with this rare privilege to air out my views on the motion as stated earlier. My name is Taonga Gama, representing Bwanamkuba constituency from Fatima Girls Secondary School. Madam Speaker, however, allow me to define gender-based violence according to the United Nations. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence refers to an act of violence that is experienced mostly by women and girls, which the end result refers to sexual, mental, or physical harm. Madam Speaker, however, it is important to know the causes of gender-based violence before rushing into finding the solutions to this gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence is caused due to various things that are around us that we might not even notice. Madam Speaker, one of the causes of gender-based violence is gender inequality. Madam Speaker, allow me to quote from an article written by Jenny Parks on 17th March 2017. Madam Speaker, she says, and I quote, most traditional and customary practices regard women as minors to men, and hence both their gender and sex roles perpetuate a stereotype view of women. Madam Speaker, this stereotype of view to women is what is known as gender inequality. Madam Speaker, however, this can be addressed by implementing more laws that protect the rights of women and the girl child. Madam Speaker, harmful traditional practices and social norms such as mutilation and beliefs that men show love by beating their wives. Madam Speaker, such may be addressed by sitting down with traditional rulers and boys and men, sitting down with them and discouraging gender-based violence and educating them on social and cultural norms. Madam Speaker, suspected marital affairs contribute to gender-based violence. These suspected marital affairs cause a sense of betrayal and they lead to tension. Madam Speaker, this tension may lead to physical or emotional violence. And instead of resorting to this kind of violence, we should consult our marriage counselors or resort to conflict resolution methods. Madam Speaker, if things go to its worst, one, instead of taking the law into your own hands, we may refer to litigation. Madam Speaker, having a sense of low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is feeling or thinking low about yourself. Madam Speaker, such people tend to take advantage of other people to make themselves feel better. And such people may be helped by working together as churches and communities to raise awareness on gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, this type of awareness won't only help victims of gender-based violence, it will also help the perpetrators of gender-based violence and empower those who would suffer gender-based violence in the near future. Madam Speaker, the waters of our Christian nation are covered in blood. Blood of innocent girls and women. Madam Speaker, by virtue of being a Christian nation, as a gospel preaching Christian, I believe the greatest commandment is love. And love does not hurt or destroy. So, Madam Speaker, it doesn't matter who you are, or where you come from, or who does it.
Order.
Thank
Time is up. Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to add my voice to the motion. My name is Sidi Msaka, and I'm representing Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, without wasting much of the time, let me go direct to the point on how we can eradicate GBV. Madam Speaker, we can eradicate GBV by banning dangerous substances such as alcohol. In Zambia, we only have a lot of bars than schools. Secondly, be a mentor on GBV. Madam Speaker, we can only be a mentor if we have self-esteem. In Zambia, we only have discrimination and tribalism, Madam Speaker. Secondly, restriction to lodges. Madam Speaker, in some lodges, they see sugar daddies bringing see some sugar daddies bring some young children below the age of 18, booking a room in order to sleep with those children. But, Madam Speaker, I ask myself, what if that girl gets pregnant? What if that girl gets HIV and AIDS in that lodge, Madam Speaker? Secondly, Madam Speaker, I'll speak about unnecessary marriages, such as if you are fighting in a marriage and you have a mother, just tell your mother that, please, mom, can you move out in that marriage? Just tell your father, please, father, can you move out in that marriage? Your sister, your relatively. With this few points, Mr. Speaker, I rest my case.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to share my points with you guys. Now, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Rafael Chola. I'm here to represent Munali constituency. Now, my first point is married couples should have a understanding in their marriage. Nowadays, you can see nowadays, if a husband comes late, if the wife thinks this, she's cheating on me, she was with a mistress. If the husband comes late, no, he's cheating on me, because nowadays they don't even trust each other in their marriage. That is your own marriage. Trust each other. When you are getting married, you are trusting each other. But now just a couple of years pass and you're not trusting each other. What kind of marriage is that? What kind of marriage is that? What kind of marriage is that? Therefore, that marriage is not built on trust, because a trust marriage, you are trusting your husband, and we should set a clear rule limit for our children and those parents. Your child comes home at 20 hours, you don't ask a question, you're just letting him go. That's not being a parenthood, because if you ask questions, that's when you know that that child is being in the wrong. You must set a clear rule limit that this child has a time limit when coming home or when going out and going. Nowadays, we're seeing young girls being prostitutes, young boys being thieves. Even nowadays, you haven't seen like a young girl with a sugar daddy. And you know why? Because they don't have money. Lack of knowledge. They've said a clear education, yes, we know. But without book or without uniform, can you go to school? What will you do to school without books or uniform? Because we need to go. That means we need our president, Mr. Hagainde Ichilema, to set a clear rule for us that he might provide some books before our parents.
Order. Proceed.
That His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema provide books for us and uniform so that we are able to understand and learn the gender-based violence. And my third point is we should be aware of high risk of groups. Nowadays, you can see boys are found in a lot of groups, and those groups have bad influence. Nowadays, those groups are influencing each other to take drugs, to rape people, and to what? To rape people, to take drugs, and to drink alcohol, maybe to attack people. Nowadays, you can see if a lady is going out around 21 hours, you'll be hearing, no, I was attacked, my bag was snatched, my phone is snatched, I'm left with nothing. What if in that bag, that's what she has? That's where her papers of life are. That is where her papers are, or where she owns the house, where she's from buying, or where her ATM card is. So that means we should set a clear limit or a patrol team to patrol every 20 hours. That if patrol
Order. Your time is up. Honorable member, stay over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Caleb Msonda from Chifu constituency in Indole district, representing Temoni Secondary School. Madam Speaker, thank you for letting me add my voice to the motion which states as articulate end gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, firstly, I'll define what gender-based violence in my own term. Gender-based violence, this is the physical, mental, social, economical abuse against a person because of their gender. Madam Speaker, lately we've heard rising cases on gender-based violence. To whom it is directed at and why? Mostly it is directed at women, because men think women that can't work are inferior to them. Men think women that can't do anything, that can't support the family are inferior to them. Madam Speaker, women that are working, women that are providing for their family, women that are doing their best
to work and provide for their children are being tormented not only physically but also mentally, Madam Speaker. Not only by the people around them, the community, but also the nation at large. Madam Speaker, let me also state a cause of gender-based violence, which is conflict. What is conflict, first of all? Conflict, this is the argument between two or more people. Madam Speaker, conflict as a result of high gender-based violence, Madam Speaker, lately. Madam Speaker, there are a lot of cases against conflict in marriages. Madam Speaker, we all know that marriages are always, in marriages, there are always arguments, Madam Speaker. In my point, I, I have an article by the World Health Organization which states, as I quote, there is a high level of intimate, intimate partner violence, IPV, perpetrated against women and girls. About 75.2%, which is 2,105% of the and 5 of the girls and women in our country, of of the responsibility of the respondents and experienced any kid of IPV, ranging from threats to forced sexual acts. Madam Speaker, also forced marriages are a cause of gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, what I am urging right now is to sensitize the community. Let them know what gender-based violence is, how they can stop gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, let me conclude by saying love has no gender, Madam Speaker. Compassion has no religion, Madam Speaker. Character has no race, Madam Speaker. Therefore, so let us end gender-based violence, Madam Speaker. True love does not abuse you, Madam Speaker. True love does not hurt you, Madam Speaker. So therefore, I say, I rest my case.
Honorable member seated here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Blessings Mwambapiri from Narigo Secondary School, presenting Munari constituency. Since some of the causes of gender-based violence have been mentioned by my fellow honorables in here, I would like to bring out the solutions. 1. Transform their transform their laws, and policies that to educate people on how gender-based violence is is bad to them. Like as in us in Mhm. Yes, yes. Bring out programs that to educate people on gender-based violence. In Zambia, inequality is not the equality. As we stand as one Zambia, one nation, let's stand as one to fight gender-based violence. I raise my case.
May the Honorable Chairperson wind up debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank the presence of every honorable member who has attended this debate today. Madam Speaker, I ask and I beg that may I borrow all definitions as articulated and outlined by the honorable members of the August House. Madam Speaker, they did make mention of the causes of gender-based violence, which includes the following: drunkenness, lack of women as leaders. Madam Speaker, women are people, and women are 50% of the world's population and must be represented in every field, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in order to eradicate gender-based violence, we, the people, need to rise and protest against gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, another cause is corruption. Although some cases are reported to the police or proper authority, it is not neatly looked after simply because people stereotype. People say that why should you report a case when you are a boy? Why should you report a case when you are a girl who is in marriage? And this is what we want to end. We want to end gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, another cause which was outlined is gender inequality. Gender inequality, which is the unequal treatment on the basis of gender, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there are various harmful traditional practices as outlined by a honorable member of the August House. For example, the Chivelele in Chibombwe district, which supports child marriages. Madam Speaker, I'll furthermore summarize on the solutions of how to end gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, sensitizing about gender-based violence in the communities as well as the schools so that people are aware. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, in rural areas we have lack of schools, or rather should I say, we have few schools in rural areas, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you find that in order for you to go to a police station or proper authority, you're going to take a very long distance, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we urge the government to create more schools in rural areas and also to create proper authority, or rather nearby police stations, to report all cases of gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, I furthermore move on to say that strict law and punishment should be strictly given to those who abuse, or rather those who are able to participate in gender-based violence. Justice must be given, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, and finally, I say that the government must work in collaboration with non-governmental organizations, Madam Speaker, in order to end gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, I submit, or rather, I thank you.
I put the question. The question is that this House urges the government to end gender-based violence. As many as of that opinion say aye. As of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Her Honor the Vice President, adjournment.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and I beg to move that the House do now adjourn. Thank you so much.
The question that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objections? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
TV's #1. Everybody ready to go, go, go? Let the hoedown begin! We've got the zaniest characters to transport you away. The party is cracking, so why not come play? You're gonna love it!